Hey, welcome in. I'm Casey O'Toole, founder of LinkyBot. So, for about a decade now, I've done exactly one thing for a living: LinkedIn outreach for people who sell serious B2B engagements. First, it was under MyLink solution, now under LinkyBot. Same craft, better tooling, and a lot more scar tissue. I'll tell you a little about what scar tissue means, so you'll know why I teach this the way I do. On October 10th, 2019, I walked into my office in Santa Barbara and could not log into my own software. My co-founder had drained our bank account, changed the password to our software, and then went silent. 50 plus clients were running on that system. Payroll was due in days. We ended up having to migrate every one of those clients onto a new software inside a week, and we did it without losing a single one. And interestingly, the idea that saved us didn't even come from me. It came from my virtual assistant in the Philippines, who's still on my team today. So when I tell you something in this hour, it's because I learned it with real clients, real reps, and with real money on the line. None of this is theory. So a quick word on who this hour is built for. You're a coach, a consultant, an independent contractor, or a founder CEO with a small team, and you sell engagements worth $5,000 and up, and you want pipeline from LinkedIn without guessing. Some of you may already run something like this manually. Some may be using automation tools, and some would prefer to have it handled for them. Same system in all three cases, only the operator changes. Here's the next hour. The complete system we use to take your LinkedIn presence from cold profile to generating held appointment with qualified prospects. 9 parts in order, with the real numbers and the real rhythms. Not a teaser, not 3 tips and a pitch. The actual map we run every single day. And I want to be straight with you right up front, because I hate it when hosts hide the ball. I sell one thing, this exact system, but run for you as a managed service. Near the end, I'll spend about 4 minutes on that, clearly labeled. The rest of the time is teaching. And even if you never buy anything from me, I want you to leave here and be able to run this yourself. The people who usually buy because they saw the whole picture and decided their time was worth more than the doing. That decision is yours, and it's easier to make when nobody is hiding anything. So grab a pen. There are numbers in here you'll want to write down. So this is the whole system on one screen. 9 parts. The order matters as much as the parts themselves, because each part feeds the one after it. And a weak part doesn't just underperform, it starves everything downstream. 1, profile foundation. 2, targeting. And we start with exclusions, not inclusions. 3, volume discipline. 4, the connection ask. 5, the follow-up arc. 6, reply handling. 7, content air cover. 8, qualification. 9, measurement. You can also read that map as 3 acts. Part 1 through 3 are everything that happens before a message even exists. The profile, the list, the pace. Parts 4 through 6 are the conversation itself, the ask, the arc, and the replies. And parts 7 through 9 are what separates professionals from amateurs. The air cover, the standard, the counting. 3 acts, and I bet most of you have only ever been taught Act 2. Notice where the map starts and where it ends. It starts before any message even exists, with the profile a stranger sees. And it ends after the meeting, with the discipline of counting what actually held. Most outreach advice lives entirely in the middle, in the messages. The thing is, the middle is the easy part. Everything today comes from actual reps, from me running this map over and over again. Here's the scale that I'm referencing. I've built and implemented over 1,500 plus deployments which has led to over $100 million of attributed pipeline for my clients across LinkyBot and its predecessor, MyLink Solution combined. Attributed meaning traced back to the outreach, deal by deal. That's a decade of campaigns, not a theory I built last quarter. One sentence on my company, then we teach. We run all 9 parts for our clients as a fully managed service. And as we move through the map, I'll show you how we run each one. That's mention number 1. You'll get 4 more spaced out, and the last one comes with a price tag on the screen. Everything in between is yours to keep. So from the profile a stranger sees to the qualified appointment that actually holds. Let's find out which ones you're missing. Now, here's the thing about that map. Almost nobody runs all 9. Most people running LinkedIn outreach are running 3 parts. They have some version of a profile, they have a rough target list, and they send messages. That's it. Parts 1, 2, and 4, each at about half strength. The other 6 parts, are the parts where appointments actually come from, sit empty. And the automation tools, the honest count is that tools automate about 1.5 parts. They automate the sending and some of the scheduling around it. That's real and it's useful. But here's the sentence I'm going to repeat a few times today because it's the spine of everything. Sending automates, judgment doesn't. The sending was never the part that books the meeting. The judgment part, who to exclude, what a reply means, when to ask, when to walk away, whether the appointment was actually real. No tool does that, but somebody has to if you want this to work. My promise for the next 50 minutes, by the time we hit the map again at the end, you'll know exactly which 6 parts you're missing and what each one costs in hours to run properly. What you do with that is up to you. So let's get this party started at part 1. Part 1, profile foundation. Here's the one idea I need you to tattoo somewhere. Your profile is the landing page. Every message you send on LinkedIn points at your profile. Every single one. Somebody gets your connection request, and what's the first thing they do? They click your name. Some even check your profile before reading your message. They look at your photo, your headline, your banner, and they make a 5-second decision. Is this a person worth knowing, or will it be a pitch worth deleting? Your accept rate isn't decided by your message. It's decided by what they find when they check who sent it. So what does a converting profile do? 3 jobs. First, the headline speaks to the buyer, not to your ego, not your job title, not a string of certifications. What problem do you fix and for whom? Second, the about section answers one question. Can this person fix my problem? Written to the reader, evidence early, no autobiography. Third is proof above the fold, featured section with real results, real recommendations. A stranger should get from your face to your credibility in one scroll. And 2 smaller pieces that punch above their weight. The banner is free billboard space, and many people, sadly, leave it as the default blue fog. One line of that banner about who you help does quiet work on every visit. And the profile photo just needs to look like someone a stranger would take a meeting with. Recent, clear, warm. That's the whole brief. I won't give you a fill-in-the-blank template, and that's on purpose. The templated profiles all read templated now, and readers can smell it. Principles beat scripts here. Write yours to your buyer, and it'll be better than anything I could hand you. So here's how we run this part on managed campaigns. And this is the strip you'll see on most of these slides. For us, the profile is a launch gate. We rebuild the client's profile against their ideal customer before a single message goes out. And we do not send until it converts. Because every message we send points at it. Not a suggestion, a gate. Campaigns wait on it. So before you touch a word of that profile, there's a prerequisite. the one people skip. You have to decide who the profile is for. That's your ICP, your ideal customer profile. And I want you to hold yourself to one sentence. One sentence. Who they are, what problem they're carrying, and what they're doing about it today. That's it. If your ICP takes a paragraph, you don't have an ICP, you have a wish list. Founders of 11 to 200 person B2B service companies who need pipeline and are relying on referrals. That's an ICP. Decision makers who value growth is a horoscope. And I know the objection, I hear it weekly, but I can help lots of different people. Sure, so can I. The profile still has to pick one reader because a page written for everyone is recognized by no one. Picking a reader isn't turning away business. It's making sure at least one buyer sees themselves clearly instead of every buyer squinting. Here's the test. Brutal because it's simple. Take your one sentence ICP. Imagine that person reading only your headline. 5 seconds. Do they know you're for them? Not, do they think you're impressive? Do they know you are for them specifically? If the answer is no, the profile fails. And no message outrights that. I learned this one the slow way. Years back, my profile said, and I'm paraphrasing only slightly, helping businesses grow through innovation solutions. I was sending great messages and getting silence. Rewrote the headline to name the buyer and the problem, same messages, and the needle moved within 2 weeks. Nothing else changed. The landing page changed. And one note on effort, because people imagine a week of work here. It's not. A focused profile rebuild is an afternoon. Your headline, the banner, the about section, and your featured content in that order. The hard part isn't the writing, it's the deciding. And you just did the deciding now. So that's part one. Define the one reader. Rebuild until that person recognizes themselves in 5 seconds. Foundation first, because everything else stands on it. Let's make this concrete with a real client. The shape first. What they sell, what we changed at the foundation, and what happened next. Watch how little we had to move. Chuck Gallup was one of our clients. He leads a real estate team at eXp Realty out of Minneapolis. This one's from our MyLink solution era. Chuck doesn't sell a transaction. He sells a relationship. And his business comes from his sphere, people who share his market, his interests, his world. So the foundation work was everything. Before anything went out, his presence and his list were built around that sphere. So the person clicking his name recognized him instantly. The following are his words, not mine. He had tried a whole bunch of lead sources, and none of them spoke so directly to his sphere. He put it in a sentence I want you to keep. He said, it's not even really a lead gen source, it's a connection source. And out of that organically comes leads. The result, within about a month of launching, 3 deals under contract. Same steady message rhythms we run for everyone. What changed was the foundation everything pointed at. The pattern I want you to take from that. We didn't touch a thing downstream. Same targeting, same messages, only that the foundation changed. But the foundation carried everything sitting on top of it. That's why it's part 1 and not part 5. All right, so you've got a profile that converts now. Who do we point it at? Part 2, targeting. And I'm going to teach it backwards from how everybody else teaches it. Because the way everybody else teaches it is wrong. Everyone else starts with inclusions, titles, industries, company sizes, geographies. Who do we want? The professionals start somewhere else. We start with exclusions. Before you write down a single person you want to reach, you write down every person you must not reach. Why? Because in outreach, one wrong message costs more than 100 right ones. Send a cold pitch to your biggest client CEO and see how Monday goes. Message someone in an open deal your team is working, and you've just told them the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. Hit a competitor, and your playbook is now the lunch conversation. A bad send doesn't just waste a credit, it burns a relationship. And burdened relationships don't come back at any volume. So the exclusion list comes first, and it's longer than you think. Current clients, past clients, unless you deliberately are trying to win them back. Every open opportunity in your pipeline, partners and referral sources, competitors and their staff, people who have already said no this year. Write it down, keep it live and updated. Check every campaign against it before launch. That alone puts you ahead of 90% of the people doing outreach today. Then, and only then, you build inclusions, and you build them narrow. The one sentence ICP from part one becomes filters. Role, industry, company size, geography. Narrow beats broad every time. Because part one only works if the reader recognizes themselves. And a narrow list is how you guarantee they do. Now mention number two, because this part is where the difference gets structural. On our campaigns, that inclusion list is called the suppression list. And it isn't a best practice, it's a contractual object. It's in the agreement. Anyone on that list can never become a billable appointment, which means we have a financial reason to police it, not just a professional one. A tool will happily message your best client CEO. It doesn't know who that is, and it doesn't get hurt when it happens. No tool ships accountability like that. And I'd argue accountability is the actual product here. The build order, because the sequence is the craft. Step one, exclusions written down from every source you have. Your CRM, your inbox, your partners list, your own memory of who you'd be embarrassed to cold message. Step two, inclusions as filters. Role, industry, size, geography, and any signal that marks the problem you solve. Get it to a defined list, not a vibe. Step three, and this is the one that everyone skips, the sample check. Before any campaign launches, pull a sample of that list and hand review it, a slice of it. 10, 20 profiles reviewed by a human. One question per profile. Would my offer make sense to this specific person? More than a couple fail, the filters are lying. Fix them before you send, not after. And step four, keep it fresh. Lists rot, and people change jobs. Companies get acquired. Deals open and close. A monthly pass over both lists, exclusions and inclusions. Keep machine pointed at reality. 30 minutes a month, and it saves you the worst messages you'd otherwise send. Part three, volume discipline. The part where I save some of you from burning your own account. The principle, steady beats surge every time, no exceptions. LinkedIn doesn't publish its rules, but a decade of running seats, and a seat is just one LinkedIn account with one operator behind it, teaches you the shape of them. The platform watches patterns. A human being reaches out at a steady, believable pace day after day. A bot surges. 300 requests on Tuesday, silence for a week. 300 more, the single fastest way to lose an account isn't any one message. It's a volume pattern that doesn't look like a real person. The account is the asset, protected like one. So the disciplines here. New or cold accounts warm up gradually over weeks, not days. You ramp like a runner coming back from an injury. Daily consistency beats weekly totals. The same modest number every working day, not a binge when you remember. You leave headroom under whatever ceiling you think exists because the ceiling moves. And you never want to be the account testing where it moved to. And when you take time off, the campaign takes time off with you, then ramps back up. I'll be fair to the tools here. Pacing is a thing the good ones help with. Scheduling steady dailies is exactly what software should do. What software doesn't do is watch account health and adjust. It doesn't notice accept rate sagging or replies cooling and pull the pace down before there's a problem. Our managed campaigns, a human paces every seat daily. with eyes on those signals. Not a timer that fires whether or not the account is healthy. The schedule automates fine. The judgment about the schedule doesn't. So what are the actual safe numbers for 2026? Here's what I'll stand behind, and then I'll show you what it compounds into. Connection requests. Think in a band of roughly 25 to 40 a day on a healthy, warmed, established account, 5 days a week. Under that, if the account is new or the accept rate is soft. Follow-up messages to existing connections are safer territory, and roughly 80 to 100 total outreach touches a day is a workable ceiling for a healthy seat. Running requests plus follow-ups combined. Write those down and remember they're ceilings to stay under, not targets to hit one day. Now here's the reveal I promised. The first look behind our curtain. Run that steady discipline every working day, and it compounds to this. 800 connection requests and 2,200 outreach messages a month per seat, operator verified. Per seat, per month, sustained, without cooking accounts. That operator verified label matters to me, by the way. It means a human of ours counted it from live seats. It's not a projection off a pricing page. And notice what that number is not. It's not a surge. It's about 35 to 40 requests a day, a working day, every working day, with a follow-up arc running behind it. Boring, steady, and completely repeatable. The monthly number looks impressive, precisely because the daily number doesn't. One more thing while the numbers are up. When you hear volume claims in this industry from anyone, including me, ask the question I just answered. Verified how? Counted by whom? From what? You'd be amazed how fast big numbers get smaller when someone asks where they came from. Part 4, the connection ask, the request itself. And the rule here is short enough to be uncomfortable. No pitch in the request. The request has exactly one job: earn a yes from a stranger, not book a meeting, not start a sales conversation, not deliver a link, a yes. Every word past that job description lowers the odds of getting it. A connection request with a pitch in it is a cold call that starts with a contract. The person can feel the agenda through the screen, and the agenda reads as, I don't really want to know you, I want to bill you. A short, human, relevant request reads as, I noticed you specifically, and connecting costs you nothing. One of those gets accepted. There's an asymmetry here. The yes costs them nothing, so the bar for earning it is low. But the no is close to permanent, because a declined request with a pitch in it doesn't get a second chance. So restraint is nearly free, and greed is expensive. Play it that way. The pitch has a place, part 5, after the yes, inside a conversation, not here. So the principles: keep it short, well under the platform's limit, 2 or 3 sentences of an actual human writing, make the relevance visible, why this person, why now, and the reason should be true. True relevance sounds specific. It names something you could only say about this person or their company, not something that survives a find and replace. If your reason for connecting would still make sense with a different name pasted in, it isn't a reason yet. And no link, no calendar, no quick call next week, no fake flattery either. The I'm impressed by your journey has been sent 4 billion times and reads as exactly what it is. No template here either. Deliberate. Same as part 1. The moment a template works, everyone sends it, and then it doesn't. Principles age well, scripts do not. On managed campaigns, the request copy is written per campaign from the client's actual voice and actual offer, then tested against a decade of what earns accepts. Not pulled from a template library, written, because your accept rate is a compound of your profile, your list, and words that sound like you. 2 of those 3 we already covered. This is the 3rd. Part 5, the follow-up arc. And this is where I hand you the 2 numbers that run our entire operation. 14 and 21. Make the ask by day 14. The sequence is dead by day 21. Why follow up at all? Because the connection accept is not interest, it's permission. Most people accept requests the way they accept mints. The conversation that leads to a meeting happens in the messages after the accept, and most senders never send them. They pitch instantly, which burns the permission, or they connect and go silent forever, which wastes it. Here's the arc. Early, the first day or two after the accept, a short thank you and a piece of context, still no pitch. You're a person, not a sequence. Middle, a few days later, one touch that gives before it asks. An observation, a resource, a question about their world that shows you actually looked. And what that middle touch is not, because this is where sequences rot. It is not just bumping this. It is not, did you see my last message? Bumps take, they don't give. And the reader writes you off as a nuisance. If the touch doesn't carry value, don't send it. Then the ask, and it lands by day 14. Direct, low pressure, easy to decline. Would a short conversation about this be useful? That ask is a question about usefulness, not a demand for a slot. It respects a no, which is exactly why it earns more yeses. On managed campaigns, this arc isn't a guideline we try to remember. It's enforced by design, because our own pricing punishes drift. A late ask breaks our own billing window, so the discipline that tools leave optional, our economics make mandatory. When you want a behavior to hold, wire the incentive to it. We wired ours to the day 14 ask. And then by day 21, the sequence is dead. By day 21, and dead means dead. No reply after the ask, one polite closer, and you stop. This is the discipline half. Harder than it sounds because hope is sticky. There's always a reason to send message 7. Here's why you don't, past a certain point. Because past a certain point, persistent stops reading as diligence and starts reading as desperation. And desperation repels the exact buyers you want. 7-figure buyers don't answer message 9. Nobody answers message 9. Silence is an answer. It's the answer, not now, not this way. And the professional accepts it quickly and moves the energy to the next 100 conversations. The time you'd spend squeezing message 8 into a dead thread books more meetings spent starting fresh ones. Walking away isn't giving up on the person. It's refusing to spend your best hours on your coldest threads. One nuance. Dead doesn't mean deleted. That person accepted your connection. They're in your network now, seeing your name, which is about to matter a lot in part 7. The sequence ends. The relationship just goes passive. And passive relationships wake up on their own schedule, not yours. Some of the best conversations in any campaign come from a cohort 2 quarters back. A cohort is just the batch you connected with in the same stretch. They watched quietly, saw the right post at the right moment, and started the thread themselves. You only get those if you ended the sequence like a professional, instead of chasing it into the ground. 14 and 21. Ask by day 14, dead by 21, and the cohort rolls forward. That pair of numbers enforced will outperform any clever message you could write inside an undisciplined arc. Second client example, this one about the arc itself. Same frame, the offer, what changed in the arc, and what happened. This one's Lindsay Ncorchuk, a real estate team leader and coach, also from the mailing solution era. Lindsay built her whole business on relationships. She hated networking events, didn't trust pay-per-click leads, and refused to be salesy. So her arc was pure rhythm and restraint. Connect, give, converse, and let the ask arrive when it's earned. Her first year, she started on January 1st and closed 6 transactions between April and October, with a 7th right afterwards. Her words on the slide, I don't consider connections leads. They're a high caliber of connection. And she said the sentence I quote most, if you use it to build relationships, you don't even need to be salesy. One more detail, because it proves the arc matters as much as the accept. When Lindsay went back through her early messages, she counted about 25 missed opportunities. People who'd raise a hand and the thread just stopped because she had no follow-up process yet. The connections were never her bottleneck. The arc was. She built one and the misses stopped. What I want you to notice here is the fix wasn't a magic message. It was a rhythm and restraint applied to an arc that already existed. That's almost always the fix. Part 6, reply handling. So I'll tell you up front, this is where deals actually live or die. And it's the part almost everybody runs worst. The rule is 2 words, same day. A reply on LinkedIn is a hand raised in a channel where nobody has to raise their hand. They stop scrolling, open your thread, type something back to a stranger. That window is warm for hours, lukewarm for a day, and cold by Thursday. Now let me tighten that, because a decade of threads taught me the real number. LinkedIn prospects are not like email prospects. They don't live in the LinkedIn inbox. When someone replies, it means they're on the platform right now, and that is the whole opportunity. Answer within 10 or 15 minutes while they're still online, and the conversation keeps its momentum. It runs all the way to a booked meeting inside that thread. Miss the window, and you're not continuing a conversation, you're restarting one with a colder person. So same day is the floor, the real window is minutes. I've watched the cost of slow. A warm reply sits for days. And when the answer finally comes out, the moment's gone. Not anger, the prospect just moved on. Speed isn't pushy. Speed is respect for the hand they raised. The speed alone isn't the craft. The craft is classification. Every reply gets read and sorted before it gets answered. Interested, question, objection, not now, or no. 5 buckets, and each bucket gets a different move. Interested gets a next step, not a celebration. A question gets a real answer, short, then a step. An objection gets curiosity, because objections are usually requests for more information, wearing armor. Not now gets a graceful park and a date. And no gets a clean, warm goodbye that leaves the door open, because people change jobs and their memories are long. Take the interested bucket, the one people fumble most. This sounds relevant to me. Tell me more. And the amateur responds with 800 words in a brochure. The move is the opposite. 2 sentences that answers the interest. Then one clear, small next step. Warmth plus direction. The reply earned a door. Walk through it. Don't wedge a truck through it. Now here's mention number 3, and it's the thesis of the whole hour. This is the part every automation tool quietly hands back to you. Read the fine print of any sending tool. Part 6 is your job. The tool fires 2,000 messages a month, and every reply those messages earn lands in your inbox, unread, unsorted, waiting on your judgment. Sending automates, judgment does not. So how do we square that with the minutes wide window? No human answers in 90 seconds at 11 o'clock at night. It started with a campaign I ran for my own brother. In April 2024, I finally was able to wire AI into a real live real estate campaign. Not template blasts. An AI trained to actually hold the conversation. The first day it ran, a seller who needed to list her home replied, "The AI kept the thread going in real time," and a discovery call landed on the calendar. Day 1. After that switch, my own appointment setting went from 1 or 2 a month to 2 to 3 a week. That's my results on my own accounts, and I'm sharing it as a story, not objection. So here's where the judgment went. It didn't disappear. It moved upstream before a single message exists. Humans do the research, your audience, their pain points, your offer, your voice, down to the exact phrasing your prospects are used to hearing, and the phrasing that stops the scroll because they're not. Then we train the AI on all of it, the client's style, the client's actual value, that specific reader, that's judgment, pour it in up front. The AI's job is the part no human can do. Hold the conversation naturally in the moment while the prospect is still online. And judgment stays on top, watching. That's the second level, the second reveal from behind our curtain. The console. Every reply lands classified with sentiment attached. Positive, neutral, negative. A hot leads filter reads the context and flags the ones that need a human right now. When it fires, we tell the client, jump in, take it to email or a call, close it like a human. The same sentiment numbers steered the campaign. Negative sentiment creeping up, we recraft the messaging and retrain the AI before another week runs. The split. The machine holds the conversation. The humans make the judgment calls before the campaign and above it. Getting that split backwards, machines judging or humans typing every reply at midnight, is why most outreach fails on this part. I want to sit on that hand back moment for one more minute, because once you see the shape of it, you can't unsee it. Here's the honest life cycle of a DIY stack. Month 1 feels incredible. Messages are flying. Activity charts go up and to the right, and it feels like you hired a sales team for $200 a month. But month 2, the replies have been accumulating, and every one of them needs a human decision. Is this person real? What do they actually mean? What's the right next line? When do I push? When do I stop? That's 5 judgment calls per reply, and the tool makes none of them. By month 3, there's a name for what you've got. Inbox debt. Dozens of warm hands raised, aging past the window where answering them still works. I learned this one the expensive way. Early modeling solution, our churn ran maybe 3 or 4 months tops. And when we asked why, it was never the leads. Clients were drowning in replies they didn't know how to convert. They got overwhelmed and then they canceled. That's inbox debt. The quiet irony, the tool didn't fail. The tool did exactly what it sold you. The sending automated beautifully. The judgment never did, because it can't. What failed is the assumption that sending was the job. The job was always the judgment layer on top of it. And that layer doesn't scale with your subscription. It scales with somebody's attention, somebody's meaning a named human's whose calendar has this on it. So if you take the DIY route, and you genuinely can, budget for this part first, not last. An hour a day protected, same day, every working day. Put it on the calendar before you install anything. Skip it, and the whole machine upstream of it is decoration. Part 7, content air cover. This is the force multiplier, and it turns the rest of the system from cold outreach into warm familiarity. Every person who accepted your request in parts 4 and 5 is now your first degree network, which means when you post, they see your name. Not always, not all of them, but reliably enough to matter. So while your messages work one thread at a time, your content warms the whole cohort at once. Same audience, 2 exposures, and the second exposure changes the first. The follow-up that lands 3 days after they saw a sharp post from you gets a different reception than a message from someone who last existed 2 weeks ago. The rhythm that works, 2 or 3 posts a week, aimed at that exact ICP from part 2, about the problems your offer fixes. Not virality bait, not motivational fog, useful, specific, in your voice. The post is evidence that connecting with you was a good choice. The audience is the specific few hundred people you connected with this quarter. You're not building a following, you're warming a cohort. The topics come free. Every objection from part 6 is a post. Every question a prospect asks is a post. Your inbox writes your content calendar. One sequencing note. This doesn't have to come before outreach starts, but once outreach is run, content multiplies it. Air cover for troops that are already moving. And here's how we run it. Content drafting lives inside the same console as the outreach, aimed at the same cohort on the same calendar. One system, one operator, so the posts and the messages never drift apart. The person drafting Tuesday's post is looking at the same screen as Tuesday's replies. Part 8, qualification. Here's the whole part in one sentence. If the definition of a qualified appointment isn't in writing, it isn't real. Qualified is the most abused word in this industry. It's where vendors hide. And honestly, it's where we hide from ourselves too. The report says 12 qualified meetings. You remember 2 good conversations and a lot of no-shows. When you ask about that gap, the word qualified suddenly gets very flexible because it was never written down. And an unwritten definition always bends toward whoever's invoicing. So write it down. Before you pay anyone for appointments, including paying yourself in hours, define in writing what counts. Here are the categories to cover. Whatever words you choose. Where the meeting came from. Who the person is and whether they match your target. Whether they can actually buy. Whether they knew what the meeting was for. Whether it actually happened. And what disqualifies it outright. Cover those in writing, then count only what clears them. Your pipeline gets smaller the day you do this, and more honest every day after. Honest, small beats flattering big because you can build on honest. Ours is called the 9 criterion standard, and it's not a slide decoration, it's in the client agreement by name. 9 written criteria decide what we're allowed to call a qualified appointment. And mention number 4 rides on this. The appointment that doesn't hold costs you 0 with us. Build nothing automatically. No tool in the market bills you 0 when the meeting doesn't hold. That's not a feature gap, it's an incentive gap. A subscription gets paid whether your calendar filled with real buyers or with ghosts. When someone's revenue depends on the meeting being real, the definition of real stops being negotiable. That's the entire logic of pricing on outcomes. And it only works because the standard is written down. Here's the standard itself, all 9 criteria on one slide. And yes, steal this, put it in your own head or in your next vendor contract, and watch the conversations change. The 9 in plain language. 1, attribution. The appointment actually came from this outreach, traceably, not from somewhere else. 2, ICP fit. The person matches the target profile that was agreed in writing. 3, authority. They're in a seat that can buy or directly shape the buying. 4, interest. They booked willingly, knowing what the conversation is about. 5, the meeting was actually held. A real conversation, not a drive-by. 6, it's logged where it's supposed to be in the agreed stage, so it's countable. 7, they're not a duplicate of someone already counted. 8, they weren't already in your pipeline before the campaign touched them. 9, no reverse sell. They took the meeting to explore your offer, not to pitch you theirs. Anyone who's booked appointments from cold outreach just wins at the last one. We've all sat through the meeting that was secretly their pitch. All 9 hold, it counts. Any one fails, it doesn't. That's the sentence that makes it a standard instead of a mood. And notice what a written standard does. Put 9 written criteria on the table in front of a vendor and watch. The serious ones lean in, because written standards protect good operators too. The other ones start explaining why the situation is so special. Both reactions tell you something different. Run your own numbers through it too. The first pass stings. It's supposed to. It's the real seeing of finding out what was real, which is exactly what the information you've been missing. For the coaches and consultants here, one aside, this same discipline, written criteria applied to conversations, is how we score sales calls too, against a calibrated rubric. That's what our free call audit is. More on that at the end. Part 9, measurement. The rule, reconcile against truth. Every system that reports on itself drifts towards flattery. Dashboards, double count, sync jobs, hiccup, definitions slide. So the discipline is to regularly check the pretty numbers against the ugly source. The dashboard against the database. The pipeline report against the actual calendar. The meetings book number against meetings that appear in anyone's notes. Where they disagree, the source wins. And the gap is a bug to fix, not a rounding error to shrug at. A story on ourselves, because this teaches better with our own scar. A while back, our console, the one clients look at, showed numbers our raw database didn't support. Small drift, the flattering kind. The kind most shops never notice, because nobody checks the mirror against the face. We caught it for one reason. Reconciliation is a scheduled habit, not a mood. The part I'm proud of, we found our own bug, and we rebuilt the reporting pipeline in a day. Since then, the console reconciles against the raw database every hour, automatically. For your own stack, the practice is smaller but the same shape. Pick your own source of truth, one place, and declare it. For most of you, that's your calendar plus your CRM in that order, because the calendar doesn't flatter anybody. Then, once a week, 15 minutes, compare what your tools claim against what actually happened. Connections that are real people, replies that were really answered, meetings that really held. 3 questions, same order, every week. The habit matters more than the tooling. Count held appointments, not activity. Activity is what tools sell you, and those dashboards are seductive. Sends, views, accepts, opens, all climbing, all colorful, all beside the point. A month of gorgeous activity with 0 held appointments is a failed month wearing a costume. Held appointments are what pays you. Everything else on every dashboard you own is commentary. That's part 9, and that's the map, complete. All 9 parts, no locked doors. One more client example, the last one, about what honest counting does to a campaign. Same frame, the offer, what changed, and what happened once the numbers were real. His name's John Hurd. He runs recruiting firms, Seattle Search Group, plus a Southern California expansion he operates remotely. Another client from the Myling Solution era, and his math is the most honest math I've ever heard a client say out loud. His campaigns reach accounting leaders with a short, plain, human check-in message that runs steadily in the background while he does his regular job. And by his count, it takes somewhere between 300 and 500 messages to earn one real yes. Read that ratio cold, and it sounds terrible. Now hear the rest of it. In recruiting, one yes is a placement, and placements repeat. And John puts the value of this channel at roughly $500,000 across a couple of years of running it. His words. That's what honest counting does. It shrinks the flattering numbers and the sends and the views and the accepts down to the only ones that cash real yeses and what a yes is worth. John's dashboard will look boring at a tool company's demo day. His bank account disagrees. The takeaway? The numbers get smaller before they get real. And real is the only version you can scale. So let's do the honest math. You've seen all 9 parts. The fair question is practical. What does running this actually cost in hours? It's a lot of work, is a sales line. An hour count is information. You've got information all hour. No reason to stop now. The weekly bill, one operator running one seat properly. The profile and ICP upkeep, call it an hour. Targeting hygiene, exclusions, and list freshness, an hour, maybe 2. Sending at that steady pace, mostly automatable, hour of oversight. The follow-up arc, hitting day 14 asks, hitting day 14 asks across dozens of live threads, 2 to 3 hours. Every live thread is in a different place, and someone has to track where. Reply handling, same day, classified, an hour a day, so 5 a week. This is the one you can't skip. Content air cover, 2 or 3 real posts, 3 to 4 hours. Qualification scoring and the weekly reconciliation pass, another hour or two. Add it up, and you land somewhere between 15 and 20 hours a week. Every week, not launch week, every single week. This system is a rhythm, not a project. Notice where those hours sit. They're not beginner hours. Reading a reply and knowing it's an objection dressed as a question, that's reps. Knowing when an accept rate is drifting versus just having a slow week, that's reps. The 20 hours aren't just time, they're time from someone with judgment, which is why I'll hand it to my VA so often produces a very busy month and an empty calendar. Whoever owns these hours needs the authority to make calls, not just the availability to send. So the 3 paths, precisely. Path 1, run it yourself manually. Costs the full hours, works at small scale, and it's the right starting point for more of you than the industry admits. Path 2, run it with automation tools. The tools truly eat the sending hours, but walk the list and watch what's left. Exclusions, the day 14 judgment, reply classification, qualification, reconciliation. Sending automates, judgment does not. And the judgment hours are most of the bill. Tools take, call it 5 hours off of the 20 and leave you the 15 that need a brain. Path 3, someone runs all 9 for you, on purpose built infrastructure, and their pay depends on the appointments being real. There's no wrong door here, only an honest accounting of which door you're standing in front of. Given your hours, your team, your deal size, run that last variable seriously. If you sell $5,000 engagements and up, your working hour has a real number on it, and it's a big one. 15 judgment hours a week, every week, priced at what your time actually bills at, that's the real cost of the DIY path, and it never shows up on a subscription invoice. It quietly comes out of your delivery, your selling, or your evenings. Which brings me to the 4 minutes I promised you at the start, clearly labeled, starting now. You've seen the 9 parts, priced in hours. Here's what they look like running as one system. 5 stages: find, engage, deliver, arm, coach. Find is parts 1 and 2, the profile everything points at, and the list with the fence around it. Engage is 3, 4, and 5, and 7, the pace, the ask, the arc, the air cover. Deliver is 6 and 8, conversations held in the moment, appointments scored against the standard. Arm is the handoff, hot leads flagged, and you walk into the meeting briefed. Coach closes the loop. The console reconciles every hour, and your calls get scored against the rubric. Humans train it and judge it. The AI holds the conversations. The console keeps the count honest. That's the machine. Now, here's the price of the machine. Here's the offer. All of it on one slide, and then I'll stop selling. LinkyBot runs the complete 9-part system for you as a managed service. Everything what you watch me teach this hour, the profile gate, the contractual suppression list, the pace sending, the written asks, the day 14 arc, AI held conversations that answer in the moment, replies classified with hot leads flagged for your personal follow-up, the content on the same calendar, the standard, the hourly reconciliation, that exact map run by a professional operator from your own LinkedIn presence. 2 prices exist for this now, and the difference is when you got in. Standard, for everyone who signs after this launch, will be $2,000 a month plus $200 per qualified appointment. Hard cap of $4,000 a month. Beta, the price on this screen, is $500 a month and the same $200 per qualified appointment. Hard cap of $2,000 a month. And beta is grandfathered. You hold the $500 and $2,000 for as long as you stay an active client. The per appointment fee is identical on both tiers. Only the base and the ceiling change. At 20 appointments, beta bills the same $2,000 as at 8, $100 an appointment. Priced on outcomes, $500 a month base plus $200 per qualified appointment, $0 for no-shows, which are auto reverted. Charges cap at $1,500 a month, and qualified is not my mood. It's the 9 criteria standard you saw a few minutes ago. In the agreement, by name. Meeting doesn't hold, the charge reverts to 0 automatically. You know exactly what you'd be paying for and exactly what you'd never be billed for. The receipts behind that price. Held to the same verified how discipline I've used all hour. Capacity, 800 connection requests and 2,200 outreach messages a month per seat. Operator verified. History, 1,500 plus deployments and over $100 million in attributed pipeline across LinkyBot and its predecessor, MyLink Solution combined. I'll give you the comparison in one sentence, and it's mentioned in number 5, the last one. Tools rent you the sending. We own the outcome with you. Same map you just learned, every part of it, run by a professional operator whose economics break if the appointments aren't real. If that's interesting, the next step is a short strategy call, not a pitch performance. We look at your offer, your market, your current outreach, and I'll tell you honestly whether this fits for you, including the times the honest answer is run it yourself. That answer exists, and I give it regularly. The link's below this video and in your registration email. That's the 4 minutes. Done selling. So let's do this. An hour ago, most people run 3 of 9 parts. Now you can name the missing 6 in your own operation. Profile as a landing page. Exclusions before inclusions. Steady beats surge with real 2026 numbers. No pitch in the request. Asked by 14, dead by 21. Same day classified replies. Content warming the cohort. Qualification in writing. Reconcile against truth. That's a complete map. Nothing held back. No secret 10th part waiting behind a paywall. Your move is one of 3 paths. Running it yourself, starting with your profile and your exclusion list this week. Start today. The exclusion list takes 1 focused hour. Run it with tools, with your eyes open about the judgment hours. The tools hand back to you. Or talk to us about running the whole thing for you. The strategy call link is below this video and in your registration email. And if you're a coach or a consultant who wants your sales call scored against that calibrated rubric first, ask about the free call audit instead. We run a handful of those a week, so the queue is real. Whatever path you pick, please steal the standard. Write your 9 down, hold every appointment to them, and you'll be ahead of this game before you send a single new message. That one piece of paper will do more for the honesty of your pipeline than any tool you could install this quarter, and it costs you 1 hour. One last thing, and it's a sentence I run both of my companies on. Abraham Lincoln said, "Give me 5 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." That's this whole system. The profile, the exclusion list, the training, the standard. That's the sharpening. The messages are just the swing. Sharpen first, and the tree comes down fast. Swing dull, and you'll be hacking at it for years. And that's it. Thanks for spending the hour with me. Seriously, an hour of attention from people who sell their attention for a living isn't a small thing, and I try to pay for it in full. My name's Casey O'Toole. This was the complete 2026 LinkedIn outreach system. The whole map's yours now. Go run it.